What was meant to be an ordinary, sun-washed morning in the tranquil enclave of Montecito would become a watershed moment in the private and public lives of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. On this particular day, as dawn burned off the mist above their rose garden and their children played in the yard, a sense of uneasy anticipation hung in the air, one that neither yoga nor Californian sunshine could dispel. It was not just another news headline, but a message, carefully worded, yet heavy with history and risk, that would test the boundaries of loyalty, forgiveness, and power on both sides of the Atlantic. Inside their glass-walled kitchen, Harry sat at the marble countertop, scrolling through the first wave of morning emails. Meghan, brewing tea in silence, watched as her husband's expression darkened. The subject line was innocuous Invictus Games 2027, but its contents would set off a chain reaction within the walls of Buckingham Palace, where, thousands of miles away, the weight of history pressed down on the royal household. The invitation itself was simple enough, a formal olive branch, extended first by email and, somewhat controversially, discussed with the press before ever reaching the hands of King Charles and Prince William. Harry's message was polite, hopeful even, inviting both his father and his brother to attend the Invictus Games in Birmingham, set for the summer of 2027. But the subtext was impossible to ignore. The closing weekend of the Games would coincide exactly with the 80th birthday of Queen Camilla, a personal and symbolic milestone that had already been penciled into every royal calendar and protocol logbook. The timing, whether accidental or calculated, made the invitation a lightning rod for speculation, reigniting old wounds and stirring fresh anxieties within the palace walls. Back in London, within the echoing corridors of Buckingham Palace, the response was both immediate and profound, not a spoken reply, but a pervasive, almost suffocating silence. Advisors hurried from room to room, quietly briefing senior royals and trusted staff. Behind closed doors, discussions turned to Camilla's role as the monarchy's silent power broker. Her decades-long rise from outsider to the emotional center of Charles's life meant that her opinion now carried unprecedented weight. It was she, insiders whispered, who counseled caution and distance, wary of any attempt to reopen doors she had fought for years to help her husband close. Charles, meanwhile, found himself caught between two irreconcilable identities. As a monarch, he was bound to protocol, expected to project strength and composure, especially as his reign entered its twilight years. As a father, he was haunted by memories of his youngest son, the mischievous redhead who once rode ponies in the palace gardens and whispered secrets to his mother, Diana. Friends say the king's private study is still lined with family photographs, including one of Harry as a young cadet, smiling with naive hope at a world not yet touched by scandal or grief. But the king's reality is not so easily softened by nostalgia. In his weekly audiences with advisors, Clive Alderton chief among them, he is reminded again and again that any move toward reconciliation must be weighed against the risk of undermining royal unity, or appearing to give in to the Sussexes' narrative. Camilla, described as both practical and fiercely loyal, saw Harry's invitation as a double-edged sword. She regards Harry as a source of stress and drama who poses a risk to the king's health, one palace aide confided, and she's determined to shield Charles from further heartache. For William, the stakes were different but no less acute. Over the past years, his approach to his brother had shifted from hurt to stoic detachment. He had endured the Netflix documentaries, the best-selling memoir, and the barrage of tabloid headlines with a studied silence. Friends close to the heir to the throne say that William's refusal to engage is both strategic and deeply personal, a way of drawing a line in the sand, refusing to let family pain become a public spectacle. William doesn't negotiate via headlines, an insider said. He's not interested in performance reconciliation or playing along with what he sees as carefully timed provocations. For him, the only healing worth having is private, real, and honest. Yet the personal is never entirely separate from the political in royal life. The 2027 Invictus Games, founded by Harry to support wounded veterans, hold special meaning for the entire family. Charles, as sovereign, has long championed the armed forces, while William's own military service lends the cause a gravity few outsiders can match. To refuse Harry's invitation outright would risk appearing petty or uncharitable to veterans and their families. But to accept, especially on Camilla's birthday weekend, would risk sending the message that royal protocol and personal boundaries were negotiable after all. This was not lost on the global press, who seized on every hint and whisper, spinning theories about the possibility of a dramatic public reunion or yet another display of frosty detachment. Social media trended with hashtags #Windsor Reunion, #Camilla's birthday, and armchair analysts weighed in, dissecting the significance of every royal engagement, every brief smile or averted gaze. Was the House of Windsor on the verge of healing, or was this just another page in the world's longest-running family drama? Meanwhile, in California, Meghan provided a steadying influence for Harry. As they discussed the next steps, drafting replies, consulting legal and communications advisors, talking through how to manage the public fallout, the couple weighed their options with a mix of hope and resignation. The olive branch, Meghan knew, was both a test and an offering. If they say yes, perhaps there's a way forward, she told a friend. If not, at least we tried. Inside the palace, Charles's closest confidants debated options late into the night. Should the king attend the games briefly, before the media descended and the spotlight intensified? Could he frame his appearance as a gesture of support for the wounded serviceman, rather than a public acceptance of Harry's invitation? Would the public see through any attempt at diplomatic compromise, or would they simply be relieved to witness even the slightest thaw in royal relations? Camilla, ever the strategist, made her position clear in private. Her birthday, she reminded Charles, was not just a personal celebration but a symbolic milestone, an opportunity to reaffirm stability and unity at a time when the monarchy faced new pressures from within and without. Allowing Harry's overture to overshadow such a moment would, in her eyes, be an unwise concession. Amid these debates, one voice remained notably absent: Prince William's. Unlike his father, who wrestled with competing loyalties, William maintained an unyielding silence. Royal reporters described his stance as stone-like, a clear indication that the era of easy forgiveness had passed. If Harry expects his brother to attend after everything, then he's still clinging to a version of the royal family that no longer exists, said a longtime royal observer. For William, duty now meant looking forward, focusing on his own family, preparing for the burdens of kingship, and, above all, protecting the institution from further spectacle. As weeks passed, the silence grew heavier, each day's inaction reinforcing the sense of a family split by more than geography. Yet beneath the surface, the drama continued: old grievances, unresolved guilt, and the hope that somehow, through some act of grace or time, the wounds might begin to heal. In the meantime, every carefully worded palace statement, every photo released to the press, every non-answer given at public events was parsed for hidden meaning. For now, the story of the House of Windsor remains a tale of legacy, loyalty, and leverage, a living soap opera played out on the world stage. Harry, Meghan, Charles, Camilla, and William all inhabit roles written by both birth and choice, caught between the past and the demands of a new age. In every act of silence, in every invitation left unanswered, in every birthday celebration or charity event, the saga unfolds, its next chapter still unwritten, its ending still unknown. But one truth endures: in the gilded halls of Buckingham Palace and under the California sun alike, family is never just a matter of blood or protocol. It is an evolving, ever-complicated tapestry, woven from hope, hurt, ambition, and, sometimes, the simple courage to reach out if only to risk being refused.